Hi, I'm Chris Paul, and
My name's Greg Donaldson, psychosynthesis counsellors.
and we're going to talk a little bit about the primal wound and what that is today. Greg, what do you think the primal wound is?
Okay, so the primal wound, there's actually a book called The Primal Wound by Furman and Gieler, who are sort of, held in esteem in the psychosynthetic world, if you like. But the whole idea behind it is basically that we kind of, we get these primal wounds. We get wounded as we grow.
Right. And how does that happen?
So the way that it would happen is that basically along the way we kind of might have like mini traumas, and that might sound a bit dramatic, but what I'm kind of saying about that is really that the mini trauma is a moment where, say for instance, you've got, you imagine a baby and the baby's crying and the mother and father keep coming to see the baby.
Yes.
And the baby recognises the mother and father, and one time the mother and father don't come. Now, usually in a sort of healthy relationship, the baby will kind of know, they will come because they do usually come enough. But if it's the other way around and the baby doesn't think that the mother and father are coming and the mother and father don't come, then a kind of wound is. I mean, would you agree with that?
I would. I would think also about the way that it's generally comes to be embodied later on in life, in terms of how confident people are, how people feel about themselves, whether they feel they're good enough, whether there's a lot of shame. And what I see with a lot of clients is a sort of critical parent figure. So it's like, you've got this parent who's saying, you should do this, you should do that. If you don't do that, you're bad. If you don't do that, you're bad. And not just parents, teachers, media figures, culture, everything like that. And at some point, you bring it inside you, so that you no longer need a critical parent or other caregiver or figure telling you you're bad because you're not perfect or whatever. You tell yourself that. So
are you kind of saying that this critical part of ourselves is sort of born out of this wound?
Yes, I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly one of the ways it gets embodied within us.
Yeah.
And then there's another term which gets used, not by Furman and Gieler, I think, but by others, splitting.
Splitting, yes.
Yeah, so when the wounds happen, there's a splitting in the personality. You agree with that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose the way, when we're looking at it sort of through a psychosynthesis lens, what we would say is that really what's happening is that in that splitting is that actually a sort of a little personality is born out of that wound somehow to cover up that pain. And perhaps take for instance, maybe a young child who is very sort of, joyful and wants to sing all the time, but the parents saying, no, shut up, no singing, be quiet. So what they do is they might find a part of their personality that is kind of somber and quite low.
Well, you might become quite withdrawn and protect yourself. So I sort of have this sort of cowering, always being told off, this cowering child. So like a wounded child. Wounded child. Or I'm also thinking of the one who's sort of saying, no, I don't want to listen to that. It's sort of pushing away the criticism and doing something like that. And of course, if you do that, you not only can't hear the criticism, you can't hear anything else at all. Yeah,
of course, yeah. So the personality that's born out of covering up the wound isn't really helping the situation, although.
So the sort of splitting is you've got this finger wagging internal critical parent, and you've got the wounded child cowering, and the one who doesn't want to listen, and
of course there's also the part, the sort of amazing part of the child that wanted to sing and be joyful also splits off and gets repressed somewhere as well.
Yes.
So what it might seem like to us is that we have a client sat in front of us who can't find their joy or their purpose.
Yes.
And so for us the work is kind of about tapping into that and being able to find that joy for them again, and being told almost that they're allowed to be joyful and allowed to sing.
Yeah. Well, I think there's also a thing about identification.
Say a bit more about that.
Okay, so when you've internalised these figures that have split, you're no longer quite as whole as you were, not quite as integrated. You've got the wounded child, you've got the one who doesn't want to listen. You've probably got a rebel in there who's busy spray canging the walls, literally, or perhaps metaphorically.
I can certainly identify with that one.
Yeah, I know. Me too. So yes, the rebel, and all these sort of parts of the split parts of the personality, all in tension with each other. And sometimes you're taken over by one, and sometimes you're taken over by another. When you push one down, it comes bouncing back like a rubber ball.
Sure.
And you get into this sort of don't want that, boom, no, don't want that, bang, back it comes.
Yeah.
And actually, if you stop pushing it away and you allow it to come, and you can step back and say, yes, okay, here's my wounded part. Here's the sort of internalised self-critical or critical parent or critical whatever.
Yeah.
Here's the bit that's rebelling because it's saying I don't want this.
Yeah. So what you're saying quite clearly there is that we step back kind of away from this group of personalities,
if
you like, or sub-personalities, we call them in psychosynthesis, and kind of look at them, but not in a way that we want to get rid of them. We kind of
that's right. I think Assagioli used the metaphor of the conductor.
Yes. Yeah.
Saying that there's also a part of the personality that sort of which can observe and actually say, okay, now's your time to do what you need to do. Now's your time, and helps, rather like the instruments in the orchestra, helps them to be a bit more in harmony than if they're sort of all just saying, right, I want to play.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know about you, Chris, but when I'm sitting with a client, it is almost about like asking who's in front of me right now.
Yes.
Because we have this crowd of people within us that seemingly, kind of can change so adeptly, because we've become really good at it,
And who wants to be expressed? So the client is sitting in front of me, they're saying, I should be this way, this is how it should be. And then when they have to admit, well, actually what I want is something different to what I should want, that can be very painful. There's the reassuring them actually all the laws, the shoulds, the critical stuff which they've taken from wherever, they don't have to. They don't have to. They can experience some other part of their personality.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Well, all I've got left to say is make sure you subscribe to Creative Difference YouTube channel and to emergingpurpose.net. And if you've got any comments or questions, please do put them below, and we'll either make a video to respond to that, or we'll type something back to you. All right, thanks. Bye for now.
Yeah, thanks for watching.